As I have proved to everybody in the world that I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even at commentary. Nobody can touch me.
Hey there, wrestling fans. It is I, TM Jew, the most glorious Jew that ever lived, and your Rassiling Rabbi. And if you didn't know, well, now you know. So just sit back and get ready to bask in the glory of what is the TM Jew Wrestling Podcast. And so, welcome to the inaugural episode. And being the inaugural episode of the show, I'm sure all of you have the same question in mind. And that question being, hey, did you used to be that CM Jew cat? To which my answer to that question is yes and no. Yes, I used to be that cat. But I killed him, and I buried him 6 feet under with a golden shovel given to me by Triple H. So, he doesn't exist anymore. Now is the era of TM Jew. Which is a very gimmicky way to say, I've been gone for 2 years and I needed a fresh face. Because the past 2 to 3 years of the professional wrestling scene has done things to my body that are not best described. And left for gory revenge, horror films. That's how bad this war between the two promotions has been on me. Because at the end of the day, there's been a lot of good wrestling during the pandemic era, as we call it. Even during the height of it, when we were in things like the Thunderdome and the empty arenas, there was so much good wrestling. But it's hard to talk about it when you go online and one promotion is just having everything about it bashed. And it's hard to be it makes it hard to be positive and even truthful about the fact that you like something out of some fear of being made fun of. And then on the other side is a promotion where they declare everything great, but it just feels so fake. And I'm not talking about the wrestling, I'm not talking about the wrestlers, I'm talking about the honesty of the fans about what is good and what is enjoyable. You know, ignoring horrid production and finishes that come off as cheap. Because heaven forbid that promotion look bad. And it just created a very toxic atmosphere to want to talk about wrestling at all. I mean, who would want to go into that toxic atmosphere? Where you're either with us or against us for many fans. So that's been the primary reason why it has been absolutely hard for me to want to talk about wrestling for the past 2 to 3 years. But alas, as many of you know, for the past couple of weeks, there's been a change in the air with wrestling. As one Vincent Kennedy McMahon is no longer in the business. He has retired because, of course, what gets him is not all the sexual misconduct and all the bad press and going to Saudi Arabia and all the things we thought it was. What was it, though, that got him? As in anything that is proof that America is a corrupt country, it is the fact that he might have possibly caused people to make bad decisions with their money and cost themselves money. Or, to put it in a more better term, because he didn't rely all information about his spending habits that should have been reported. The rich and very wealthy may have been deprived of information that could have made different decisions with their money about. Because, of course, heaven forbid Not even that you take money from the rich and wealthy, but that you possibly might have caused the rich and wealthy to have more. It's the American way. So, because of that, Vince is no longer with us. Not that he's dead and buried, which, because the way I just said that makes it sound like the rich and wealthy hunted him down, put him in concrete canosses, and threw him into the Hudson River. But he has retired and now turned the business over to who we all thought he should have turned it over to years ago, before the pandemic even, Stephanie and Hunter. With Hunter now being in charge of talent and the head booker. So, yeah, these events have been met with, I think, two distinctly different views. The one that I'm on is the sort of somber and humble view, I would think, that, regardless of whatever you want to say about the old man, because Vince has done good things, he's done bad things. I think Jim Cornette said it best, depending on how you feel about him, or depending on the side of certain things happened, you either hated him or you loved him. He was sometimes both Satan and Jesus at the same time. So regardless of whatever you want to say about him, we wouldn't have the business the way it is today if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. He did so much for this industry. I mean, it can be argued whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. That's a debate that's always going to exist. But the industry was undoubtedly changed by him and the decisions he made for his company. And it's why we have sports entertainment and professional wrestling where it is today. And so for him to be, I don't want to say ran out of town, but at the same time quite a bit chased finally off of the job for the, because he's always been a company man. If he's being truthful, and again, let's just pretend that we can take Vince McMahon at his word and he's being truthful, he's retiring for the betterment of the company because of the things that are probably coming down the pike as regard to how he handled his businesses and business expenses as far as reporting and other things that are, I don't want to say beyond my comprehension at this point, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of all of the legal talk because I don't want this to be a 3-hour show. So you have, that's one side. I think we're humble and we want to be thankful for everything that Vince has done and be grateful. And then there's the rest of y'all motherfuckers who are acting like the slaves in The Wiz after the Wicked Witch got killed. And you're all like busting out of your slave outfits going, "Can you feel a brand new day? Can you feel a brand new day? Can you feel a brand new day? Can you feel a brand new day?" Like, y'all won your war. Congratulations. It's really easy to win a war when y'all are the only ones fighting it. But I digress. So, with that, we've had the past couple weeks, including SummerSlam, handled by Hunter. And we're going to talk about all of that. I mean, we're going to do a short review of SummerSlam, and I'm also going to give my way too early views on the first couple of weeks of Raw and SmackDown under Hunter and the new regime. But just to finish up, though, before we get into all of that, into again, the past couple years, and like I said, the negativity and how toxic it's been as far as within the wrestling fandom these past couple years. And, you know, I've been wanting to get in, and ultimately one of the things that I've been developing over the past couple of months is I call these TMJ's commandments. And so I just want to say, going forward with this podcast, like I said, I want the wrestling fandom to be a positive place of acceptance. And to put it in a different way, you know, I was mentioning the toxicity of wrestling fandom over the past 2 to 3 years. Somebody talking about another fandom put it in a good way of like, it ceases being a fandom and becomes a cult. And I think that's a perfect example of describing the wrestling fandom, in that, again, certain parts of it have become a cult and it just made it not fun to be part of wrestling anymore. So when I was coming up with these commandments, you know, I came up with them on the idea of, this makes wrestling fun. This makes wrestling more inclusive. This is what will help grow the fandom and make the fandom healthy and not make the fandom a cult. So, going forward with this podcast and going forward with being a wrestling fan, I hope all of y'all will join me in following this list of 7 commandments. So, we'll start with number 1. Be honest. Again, be honest about what you like and what you don't like. It's the most simplest part of the show. You know, the bookers need you as a fan to be honest with them about what you like and don't like. Don't lie and just cheer for everything because you think that will get them everything liked. You know, the bookers and those in charge are trying to figure out what is going to sell the most tickets. And as a fan, if you're not honest with them, it leads them to promoting storylines and feuds that maybe won't sell the most tickets. And look, everybody in the company benefits when you have the top feuds and such at the top of the card selling the most tickets. And really, with all the other commandments, they are all an aspect of this similar one single comment about being honest. So, number 1 commandment is to be honest about what you like and what you don't like. It helps the performers grow, because again, the flip side of it is, if a wrestler is not doing a good job, you know, him knowing that he's not getting a good job, that he's not getting the reactions he should, will help him grow, because he'll know, I gotta change it up, I've gotta get better. Because not everything is the booker's fault. Sometimes wrestlers are just not that good. And they need to know that they're not that good so that they can improve. I mean, with, you know, outside of you screaming at them curse words about how much they suck. 2nd commandment, you have to watch to make a difference. One of the things that I've felt has been a detriment to wrestling fandom has been the fact that people just, they watch and they don't watch, they will read reviews or they'll watch just clips and they'll think my opinion now matters more than somebody who actually watched it. It's one of the reasons why I don't feel my opinions on AEW should be, at least as far as any match is concerned, should be taken all that serious or really at all. You know, I make it out there. Regardless of what I read about what happened on the show or not, again, I don't watch it. I've always said you should watch for yourself and make your own opinion. And that's the thing. You should make your own opinion, but you have to actually watch. Because how can your opinion have any truth to it if you didn't actually watch what was going on? Number 3, the 3rd commandment. Be positive. Because you have to be positive to make a difference. Again, if something is good, let them know. That's how the bookers and the company will know, hey, this feud or this angle, this storyline, this is making money. This will put tickets, it will put butts in seats. The wrestlers and sports entertainers need you to do that for them so that they can get better, so that they can move up the ladder and move up the card. And it doesn't happen unless you're positive about what you like. Again, in response to that as well, the fourth commandment, you have to be loud. You know, WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, TNA, Impact, AAA promotion in Mexico, I don't care what it is. You know, part of what makes them book certain matches higher up on the card is what makes noise. And you have to be loud. You know, they want that place rocking. And if you're sitting on your butts, looking at your phone when wrestlers are putting outstanding matches, and I've lost count to how many great television matches are ruined because the audience just wasn't into it. They're sitting there and they're looking at their phones while wrestlers are wrestling their hearts out for them and getting no response. It's sickening. You know, you do not buy tickets to a wrestling event to sit on your ass and look at your phone. You do it to pay attention. And this goes right back to watch. Again, and how all of these are interconnected. You should be watching and you should be cheering and should be cheering loudly about what you like. Because again, it helps the wrestlers and all the things I just said. Number 5, you have to make money to make a difference. You know, understand that particularly with the WWE, the ownership's job is to make money for the stockholders. They are a publicly traded business. So understanding that, again, following the other commandments, you allow them to know what's going to make them money. And if the companies make money, then they can make the wrestlers' lives better. It is a roundabout circle. But it only happens, again, if you follow the previous commandments. And the final 2 is support all wrestling promotions, no matter how big or small. Not just WWE, not just AEW, but New Japan Pro Wrestling. At the time I wrote this, Ring of Honor had not been bought. But Ring of Honor, Impact, AAA, your local wrestling promotion. Support them. Support the industry. Not just these top 2. And the final commandment is that we all need to stop bullying each other. You know, you like AEW. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons you like. And I'm sure you could talk to your blue in the face to all the things that happened under Vince McMahon's regime that made you hate WWE. But you don't need to own people for your wrestling to be better. And that's the large problem is, again, this bullying that is tied directly to wrestling fans wanting to own other wrestling fans so that, you know, their way is acknowledged as the proper wrestling way. This is the bullying that is making wrestling toxic. And we need to do better and we need to stop it. So that's TMG's commandments. These are things I'm going to be following through personally on this show. It's one of the reasons why I will not be reviewing AEW. But I hope that you as a fan will follow these commandments too. Because, you know, when you have situations like Io Shirai or Io Sky debuting on Raw as she did last week, and the crowd being dead because, not just because the casual fans didn't know really much about her, but because the hardcore fans that were there weren't making noise, they weren't cheering. They knew exactly who she was. And again, remember, as a wrestling fan, that's what you are, especially if you consider yourself a hardcore wrestling fan. You know, you are the supporters. You're the group of people who are in that corner of the soccer stadium waving the big giant flags with the smoke and the music, doing the club's chant songs, getting the main crowd into it with your cheers. That's your job as a hardcore wrestling fan, and we need to be getting into it more. So, follow those commandments, and I don't think there's any way you can go wrong being a wrestling fan, especially in this country. Let's move on to the main idea of the show. Let's move on to my review of SummerSlam 2020. So, welcome back, and let's get into SummerSlam 2022, which took place from Nashville, Tennessee, at the Nissan Stadium, to an attendance of 48,449, including the brands of both Raw and SmackDown. Let's just sit there and say that SummerSlam 2022 was absolutely outstanding. A fantastic pay-per-view. As far as a statement of announcing the new regime, I think they hit that mark perfectly. Because it's really screamed, this is a new era of WWE. From the start to the finish. Let's just start with the first match, which by all means was match of the night. I don't think anybody else can argue that this is the best wrestling match of the night. Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title. Absolutely outstanding. Again, I love how it continued on with the story that they told before at WrestleMania. And more importantly, that was a sort of smooth wrestling match in a way. This was more of a struggle because they were telling like, okay, we know each other's moves, so it's gonna be more of a struggle because we know what we're doing, and it's gonna be a little bit rougher, a little bit tougher in that sense here. I love that inclusion to it, to whereas it gave both matches a different feel. It wasn't just like carbon copy of this is what we did before at WrestleMania. That was absolutely outstanding, and let's do it again. Becky Lynch wrestling, as we now know, with her arm popped out. Goddamn. You need any more proof she's the goddamn man? That's it right there. And while the finish was a little bit sudden, as far as I was concerned, because, again, this match only went 15 minutes and 10 seconds, it was completely believable that this was the end of the match. The counter into the mid-rope Spanish fly, into the KOD, picking up the 1, 2, 3, especially now knowing that she's injured, which again, that can later on play into the story to where when Becky Lynch gets maybe another chance at the title, where Bianca Belair is the title holder, and they're talking about the match, like, yeah, you beat me in a short amount of time, but I was injured that time. So again, that's something that can be played with later on. But I love the finish. two big impact moves in a row for the finish. I can't say enough. It was the best wrestling match of the night. And then, of course, you had the really good moment to where Becky Lynch turning face, shaking hands. And again, it was sort of that Goku-Vegeta rivalry type of feel to it. To where it's like, I still don't like you, but I respect you. And, of course, when that was happening, you knew, okay, this is setting up something that's either going to happen now or at Raw. And sure enough, moments later, Bayley's music hits. And then to my glee, you have Dakota Kai's music hits. And then to my absolutely outstanding ovation, to which I jumped out my seat, Io Shirai's music hits, or excuse me, Io Sky, as she's now known. And they came to the ring. And the thing, by the way, that I love is the camera was cutting to Bianca every time a new person came out. And since we saw Bayley, I'm like, oh, Bayley's here. And then Dakota Kai came out. I was like, oh, what a surprise. This is awesome. But when Io Sky's music hit, the look on Bianca Belair's face, like, oh, shit. Like, I was like, oh, no, I love that, because that immediately made you feel like whoever's coming out now, they must be a badass, because if Bianca's worried about that music, and that whoever that person is, so that gave an instant feel to, an instant, what's the word I'm looking for? An immediate sort of serious tone and immediate, oh, this is a badass tone to Io Sky, which I must deserve. One of the best in the business. Like, she's somebody to be worried about as far as my title is concerned. And so you had the moment to where, they come down the aisle, Bayley, Kai, and Sky get in the ring, and they're about to possibly beat up Bianca when Becky Lynch comes in and, they face him down. So that was just a great moment. Our next match is Logan Paul versus The Miz with Maurice and Ciampa. And I know everybody wants to hate on Logan Paul, for understandable reasons. So many controversies on YouTube that you could talk about to why, for those who don't know why people don't like Logan Paul, that's why they don't like Logan Paul. Not excluding years ago when he went into the Japanese suicide forest and possibly disseminated the dead. All that aside, though, goddamn, this guy can wrestle. You have to give him that. Whoever trained him and whoever wised him up on the business did an amazing job, because the guy has the charisma. He can hit the moves, and he can hit them with flair, but again, it's, WWE has this great success recently of celebrity wrestlers who get it. From Bad Bunny to Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, as we'll talk about, and it's been having this good success. You can trace that success in a way all the way back to oh god, I'm blanking on his name, but what's his name from Arrow? Who had a good relationship with Cody. We might see him back at some point. Because all things considered. But yeah, it was a great match. I love a lot of the different industries. The Miz coming down with the photo of him beating up on Logan Paul as an IT around his neck, mocking the Pokemon card that was around Logan Paul's attack from WrestleMania. Maurice having Mrs. Balls, because she had that ball purse. I also enjoy the way Ciampa is integrating himself as a part of the team, and again, when he gets involved, that was the only sort of, I don't want to say bad thing about the match, but the only thing that was a little bit off was AJ's interference when he got thrown out. Obviously, they are doing he's getting attacked from behind as opposed to from the front when the music hits. But I think maybe they should have had AJ a little closer to the ring, so for it to happen more sooner towards when his music hit, as opposed to when it did. And that's the only thing that felt off. Because to do that, you had to have the two wrestlers in the ring just stay down and have nothing happen. And so that kind of took away from the believability. But still, that's the only nitpick I can make. And I think it's the only nitpick anybody can make. Outstanding. I mean, you have to give it up for any celebrity wrestler, anybody who's not an actual wrestler, who willingly does the 13-foot frog splash from the corner post to the announcer's table, who hit perfectly, and give credit to Miz for taking it. So an outstanding match. And goddamn it, they had people cheering for Logan Paul by the end of it. So, if nothing else, that makes the match a win in a way. The next match was the second shortest match of the night, only by 10 seconds. Bobby Lashley versus Theory. And again, I thought this was a good match because I thought this was more about the story of everything that Theory was involved with, his Money in the Bank briefcase, and, again, I didn't believe he was going to beat Bobby Lashley, and so he jumped Bobby Lashley, got his licks in, but then, once Bobby got control, you knew it was only a couple moments to the end of the match, and, again, I love the finish, he catches he catches Bobby, and then he goes for that roll-through dropkick, but instead gets caught by Bobby into a military press, who then drops him right in the Hurt Locker. That was a great combination. And again, I know a lot of people didn't like him tapping quickly, but again, it tells that story of he cares more about being more fresh for later tonight. And that's really something I don't think people talk about with what they're doing with Theory. Is I think they're really going after the swarmy, gonna cheat every way he can heel through Theory. Like, he's not going to win the title fair and square. He's gonna wait till people are completely exhausted and everything to win that title. He's going to do it in the most despicable heel way, because he's not on the level of everybody else. And I think that's the point. I don't know what story it's going to lead to, but that's certainly what they're doing with Theory. And just because the story is obvious doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. This is the story they're telling. Certainly the story feels like a hangover from the last administration, but again, I give credit to, you gotta finish the story. So they're gonna finish the story. But of course, Theory would come back later to play. Then you had the Mysterios versus Judgment Day. Now, I did enjoy this match. Ray and Dominic versus Finn and Balor and Damian Priest. It's always an enjoyable match. We've seen it over the past several weeks at this point, and again, always enjoyed it. Really, it was more towards the setup for Edge coming back, and having that entrance, which they obviously needed the night for, with the fire and everything, coming back from the depths of hell. So while it's an enjoyable match, it was more about that angle and the continued building of that story, which, like I said, has become good in recent weeks. I guess the issue I have is, if this was put in to replace Seth frickin' Rollins versus Matt Riddle, I don't think that it fit. Like, I don't think getting the Mysterios and a Judgment Day and the angle of Edge coming back match what would have been an absolutely outstanding match between Rollins and Riddle. along with another match that we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. It felt like that match was cut because they knew that would be a long time lasting match, and they wanted to keep the pay-per-view under a certain amount of time. And that's the only really negative I have about SummerSlam, is that with that, and then along with another match, is it really felt like they were, towards the end, trying to stay in time. And they had a finite time limit that they wanted to keep. And as the pay-per-view kept going, the hood of that time limit kept lingering over the pay-per-view. So, while it's an enjoyable match, nothing really big happened other than, again, you have Edge coming back, destroying the Judgment Day, helping Mysterios get the win. And of course, that story continued to where it's going now, to where Edge accidentally spears Dominic, and then you have Rhea simping Dominic, or not simping, dominating Dominic, and all the simps who are enjoying it, and all that crazy stuff. But next is Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin. And God damn it, Pat McAfee. What can't this guy do? Every week I think he's going so far over the top that everybody's going to turn on him, and they never do. And it's amazing. And in this match, my God, how many times did he save himself? From landing on his knees to jumping up to the top rope and wobbling like for 5 seconds, like, oh shit, he's going to fall, and not. But the thing that I liked about this wasn't just, giving on to Pat McAfee. It was a back and forth. McAfee, again, you could see his training from Rick Rogers, getting beaten down and building towards the comeback in the match, to where he makes his comeback and does those moves. And then, of course, the storytelling at the end, to where referee gets knocked away for a second, and Pat McAfee, who would fully admit that he himself is an asshole. He's not a pure babyface. Babyface. I almost said pure babyface heel. That actually kind of makes sense when you think about it with Pat McAfee. He is a pure babyface heel. He's a good guy that likes to do bad things, and in this case, it was the field goal was there. It's open. It's good. Or as Jahel probably would have said, it's long, it's gone. So it hit that, and then I believe he was attempting the Panama Sunrise, Canadian Destroyer from the middle rope, and it just kind of turned into a Sunset Flip Bomb instead. But again, still works. And kind of, when you think about, again, matching the, him jumping up to his knees onto the top rope for that superplex. And then, of course, the jumping up to the top rope and shaking for a bit before attempting the senton. It kind of matched the feel of the match. But again, and give credit to Corbin. Again, I don't think Corbin gets enough credit for how good he does. He is a really good wrestler. Regardless of what you think of his gimmick, he's an outstanding wrestler. And I just don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is. And it's always in pay-per-views that it shows. Next, we have what, in my mind, was the worst match of the night. For many reasons. The Usos defending the Unified Tag Team Championships against the Street Profits with Jeff Jarrett as special guest referee. Again, I was expecting a much longer match. I was expecting much more shenanigans. Just the fact that Jeff Jarrett comes out with generic sort of country music as opposed to the song that he wrote for them. I don't know what happened there. It didn't feel like they did anything that really involved Jeff Jarrett into the match that much. They had a couple things, but nothing into the meat of the match that made him being the special guest referee feel like it was the deciding factor. And I think part of it had to do with, again, this match had to be cut for time. It's obvious that it had to be. I mean, this match was only 13 minutes and 25 seconds long. It was obviously cut for time, and it showed. Because it felt incomplete, especially after the amazing, outstanding match they had at Money in the Bank, the match of the year candidate, that went 25, 30 minutes? It didn't have that back and forth, and especially after coming off that previous match, this felt like a letdown. Again, there's good wrestling there, it's just other things made it feel like a letdown. And didn't feel like it rose to the importance of, well, we need Jeff Jarrett as a special guest referee. So that, to me, made it worst match of the night. Moving on to the match that I think everybody thought was going to be worst match of the night, and was also the shortest match of the night at 4 minutes and 35 seconds, Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. And I say all that to say, I enjoyed this match. Again, it's exactly what I thought they needed to do with these two, and they pulled it off perfectly. And again, you had Liv Morgan as, yes, the underdog, but in this case, it was the underdog that nobody believed could beat the big, bad monster Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is this professional MMA fighter who can snap your arm in a second if she chooses to. Liv Morgan, while we all love her and believe her, and trust me, again, she's one of those 3 women that when I first saw her, I thought, when she's not green anymore, she's going to be a world champion on the main roster. When I first saw her in NXT, again, she doesn't have I don't want to say the muscular definition, but again, she doesn't look like a sort of, let's call it, strong style wrestler, like a Rachel Rodriguez or Shayna Baszler or Asuka. She's speed, and she's not going to out-wrestle Ronda. In other words, she's a wrestler that by the look of her, no one's going to sit there and believe that it's going to take Ronda long to beat her. And to be able to withstand the armbar several times, and then at the end there, roll her up and pin her, only to tap out at the last second, but the referee couldn't see it. Again, I thought that was great storytelling, and it was the perfect way for them to get out of the match, with Liv Morgan looking both strong as a champion, but also Ronda looking strong. Because again, Liv Morgan looked strong here because she did, with the exception of that very last moment where she thought he counted 3 and thus she tapped out, she went last and pinned for a second time Ronda Rousey. At the same time, it's very clear she tapped before the 3, and thus Ronda Rousey has the out of, I got cheated. And so again, I'm looking forward to where this storyline is going to continue, especially now adding Shayna Baszler into the mix as she's going to face Liv at Clash of the Castle. I cannot wait to see where it goes. And then finally, for what is hopefully the last time, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for a WWE Heavyweight Championship. In this case, it is a last man standing match. If Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch was the best wrestling match of the night, this is the best sports entertainment match of the night. Just starting with Brock driving down to the ring in a tractor with a front loader, getting on the mic, introducing himself, throwing the mic at Roman Reigns, and him just catching it out and snatching it out of midair like it was nothing. It's like, oh God, holy shit. And then it was exactly what the match needed to be. It was big, beefy men beating the hell out of each other to keep each other down for a 10 count. with the added inclusion of the awesomeness of a tractor trailer at one point while Roman is in the ring at the halfway point, lifting the ring up and spilling him out. Because, god damn it, we need to find one more way for Brock Lesnar to completely break the ring. Michael Cole with the call of his life, particularly at the end there where he's going, "Oh my god, count faster! How is he getting up?" And just to continue build up of the family getting involved, using the title belts, using bigger stuff to knock him out. I love that also that Theory came down and almost cost Roman the title. But when he went to try to go after Brock, he was immediately caught and it's like thrown away as a fly. But yeah, and then the final image there of them having to bury Brock Lesnar under everything, which again, it's not a new one. I believe they did that to Braun Strowman at one point. I also believe this happened to Brock before. But again, just him having to be buried with every piece of destruction that they could find around the ring, from the announce table to which, by the way, the announce table getting destroyed because Paul Heyman had to sacrifice himself. Which, by the way, that's the whole reason why Roman Reigns wins. Paul Heyman sacrificed himself and allowed himself to be F5'd. And then just, again, even after Brock's buried, Paul Heyman's still there corpsing, like, I'm dead now. That was great. That was absolutely great. So, you know what? While maybe not the wrestling match people like me like to have end pay-per-views, it was an absolutely outstanding sports entertainment match, and I don't understand how anybody could have left not entertained by that match at the end. Again, while I know people are getting tired of Roman Reigns and his title reign, he's the one that needs to continue it. Because there are, again, I think it's important for somebody to beat him with the record that he's showing, whether it be Drew McIntyre, whether it be Cody Rhodes when he comes back, whether it be through a cash-in by Theory, whatever it may be. And that really sets us up into that, again, I think the final view of this pay-per-view, will be that this was a great start to the new era of WWE, and really that's what it's going to be looked at. Like I said, wrestling match tonight was Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. Roman Reigns and Lesnar was a sports entertainment, fantastic spectacle. Outside of, again, wishing that the tag team match had more time and could have told a better story off of their previous match of the year match. There was not a bad match on the card. Everything was great. Everything told a story. The perfect story needed to be told. Again, other than a couple of nitpicky things, I can't find anything wrong with the pay-per-view, and it was a great way to start off and a great way to show the world, hey, this is the new era of WWE. And certainly that feeling has continued on in the past couple of Raws and SmackDowns. As I'm recording this, it's been 2 weeks from SummerSlam. And so we've had 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns. The returns, to which, god damn it, I forgot how much Triple H loves to tease the audience when we are intimate that somebody is coming. In this case, Johnny Gargano. This past week during that United States title match, which was an absolutely incredible U.S. title match. I mean, Tommaso Ciampa versus Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title. Go, watch it now. Watch it now. And then after you're done watching that, then after that's done, turn on your SmackDown replay and go watch Gunther versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Because, again, revitalizing those titles, making that an importance for this new era. A lot more wrestling. It feels like the segments are all being tightened up. It feels like everything is flowing with each other. A lot more wrestling, as I said, and particularly with that Ciampa match. And as I was getting to before, again, all throughout that match and that night, just teasing Johnny Gargano, being that they were in Cleveland. You know, Ciampa locks on the Gargano escape, and first, Corey Graves is like, sometimes you gotta do it yourself. There's no escape for Bobby Lashley. It's like, I hate you so much right now. But of course, and then the ultimate tease to where there's this thing going on backstage with his car, and you don't think it's really anything. It's just, oh, there just happened to be an accident. And they really played it off well to like something happened until they had those security guards rush past the wrestlers, breaking up their segment. And then, again, you saw the guy in the corner getting arrested. And then when it gets pulled, it's Dexter Lumis. I'm like, I really, really hate you, Triple H. Just please. I'm telling, when Johnny Gargano debuts in WWE's main roster, the roof is going to blow off. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I hope I'm not jinxing it, but it's going to happen. I haven't been this excited about wrestling in a while. And again, that's the good thing that I feel is helping me want to talk about wrestling again on a podcasting form. I'm so excited. Like I said, I felt it should have happened long ago. But again, that whole respect for what somebody has done and earning the right to go when they want to go. I know that seems not complimentary, but like conflicting thoughts. And they are. Again, it's the mountain I felt I needed to die on. Because at the end of the day, to me, I very much care about respect. I very much do. I already went through all that in the first segment, so I think WWE has done a great job really establishing this new era of WWE post Vince McMahon. This is definitely the Triple H era. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what is going forward. We have Clash at the Castle coming up in a few weeks. Yeah, Killing Cross on SmackDown. What's going to happen with him and Roman and Drew? How are they going to revive the tag team divisions? Again, you have this fantastic U.S. title match now on Raw between Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles. How that's going to go? When will we possibly... Who will show up next? Last night we had Hit Row. Monday night it was Dexter Lumis, Killing Cross on the SmackDown. It's like, who's next to come that's not been signed by AEW to insanely stupid contracts just to basically keep them away from WWE? Let's be honest about that. So, yeah. For me, wrestling's back, folks, and I couldn't be happier. Well, I think I've done about as much damage as I can do in this program. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for your Rabbi. I hope you enjoyed the services. Cookies will be offered afterwards by the Kick My Ass Club. And until next time, I want you to remember that I am TMG, your Wrestling Rabbi. And if you didn't know, now you know. So just sit back and bask in my glory.